Jey Uso's big moment? WWE's biggest twists revealed. Winners, losers, and surprises. Night of Champions chaos ahead. What if the biggest shock of Night of Champions 2026 isn't who wins the championship, but who loses everything trying to get it? And what if WWE is secretly preparing a moment nobody sees coming, one that completely changes the future after the show ends? Night of Champions has always been the place where careers are made, rivalries explode, and unexpected moments become history. But this year, the stakes feel completely different. Today, we're breaking down the final predictions for Night of Champions 2026. We're talking winners, losers, possible betrayals, surprise appearances, and the huge twists that could completely flip WWE's landscape. So grab your snacks, because this one might get wild. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe because we're diving deep into everything WWE. There's always something special about a major WWE event right before it happens. The rumors get louder, the predictions get crazier, and every fan suddenly becomes a detective trying to connect clues that may or may not even exist. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're completely wrong, and sometimes WWE does something so random that even the person writing the storyline probably says, "Wait, we're actually doing this?" But that's what makes it fun. Night of Champions 2026 could be one of those nights where the obvious choice isn't actually the choice WWE makes. The company loves giving fans what they expect, but they also love taking those expectations, flipping them upside down, and creating chaos. Let's start with the biggest question surrounding the event. Who walks out as the true king of the night? The spotlight is clearly on Jey Uso. His rise has become one of the most interesting stories in WWE because it wasn't about someone being handed everything. It was about the journey. A superstar who spent years standing beside others, helping others shine, suddenly becoming the person everyone is watching. That's what makes his situation so interesting. Because the question isn't just whether Jey Uso can win. The question is whether WWE wants to put the final stamp on his transformation. Does he finally become the guy at the top, or does WWE pull the brakes and tell everyone, "Not yet"? And wrestling fans know how this works. The moment everyone starts saying, "There's no way he loses," that's usually when things become dangerous. We've seen it too many times. The crowd gets comfortable, the commentators start making it obvious, and then suddenly everything changes. If Jey Uso wins, it could represent much more than just a victory. It could be the moment WWE officially says he belongs among the biggest names in the company. It would be the ultimate payoff after everything he has gone through. But if he loses, that might actually create an even bigger story. Sometimes the biggest stars aren't created by winning immediately. Sometimes the loss becomes the fire. Sometimes the disappointment becomes the thing that pushes a character into a completely different version of themselves. And that's where the mystery begins. Another major factor heading into Night of Champions is the number of people who have something to prove. Every championship match has someone defending their position and someone fighting for their opportunity. The pressure is different for everyone. Champions walk in with confidence, but they also walk in with a target on their back. Everyone wants that moment. Everyone wants the celebration. Everyone wants to stand in the ring holding the title while the crowd reacts. But only one person gets that moment. Everyone else has to deal with the reality of walking away empty-handed. And sometimes the losers are actually the most important part of the story. Think about it. A shocking loss can create anger. Anger creates conflict. Conflict creates new rivalries. WWE has built entire eras around one person being unable to accept defeat. So while everyone is asking, who wins, we should also ask, who loses in a way that changes everything? Because that's where the real drama usually starts. Now let's talk about the possibility of huge twists. Night of Champions has always had the ability to create unforgettable moments. It's not only about the matches. It's about what happens when everyone thinks the story is already finished. Someone turns. Someone returns. Someone reveals their true intentions. Someone ruins another person's celebration. Suddenly, the entire WWE universe is debating what happens next. The crazy part is WWE doesn't always need a huge shocking moment. Sometimes the smallest things create the biggest reactions. A look. A pause. Someone refusing to help. Someone standing in the background when they weren't expected. Fans notice everything. Wrestling fans are basically detectives at this point. Give them one small clue and they'll create a full theory before the next commercial break. And honestly, sometimes those theories are more complicated than the actual storyline. But that's part of being a fan. Another thing to watch is who WWE protects at this event. Sometimes the person who loses clean isn't actually being buried. Sometimes the person who wins isn't the one who gets the biggest momentum. The real winner might be the person who leaves Night of Champions with the biggest future ahead of them. A superstar could lose a match but gain sympathy. Another could win but show a darker side. Someone could steal the spotlight without even walking out with a championship. That's why predicting WWE is so difficult. It's not only about the result. It's about what happens after the result. Looking at possible winners, there are several names that could leave this event in a completely different position. One victory could change someone's career overnight. One moment could turn a regular contender into a main event player. But WWE also loves protecting surprises. Sometimes the person nobody is talking about is the person who creates the biggest moment. And if there's one thing we've learned, it's never to ignore the quiet story happening in the background. Those are usually the stories that explode when everyone least expects it. Before we get into the biggest possible shock of the night, let me know your prediction. Who do you think leaves Night of Champions 2026 as the biggest winner? And who do you think is walking away with everything falling apart? Drop your thoughts in the comments because some of the best wrestling debates always happen there. Now, let's talk about the match that could define the entire event. The main event atmosphere. This is where WWE usually decides what message they want to send. The final match is not just a match. It's a statement. It tells fans who the company sees as the future. A huge victory could launch someone into a new era. A shocking defeat could begin a revenge storyline that lasts months. Or we could get the classic WWE move where something completely unexpected happens and nobody saw it coming. And honestly, those are the moments fans remember. Years later, nobody remembers every single match from an event. They remember the night when everything changed. The moment where the crowd went silent. The moment where everyone looked around and said, "Did that really just happen?" Night of Champions 2026 has all the ingredients for that kind of night. A rising star trying to prove himself.